You know that is obviously like part of the meme around you, where because you've like built this like funny angle of like, oh, I just want to like get the scrims done so I can go play World of Warcraft. Like when you say those stories, like, I play this, like people don't know. Like when you say you for the first time, like some of these champions, are you ever actually playing them where you just almost never play them? Like, or is it like I haven't played it in an official game, but I did like scrim it on a Smurf account or something? Like you surely don't really like pull shit out you never play it.
I mean, at Worlds, I would say definitely not. It would have to be like a very niche case where like someone picks something that I haven't practiced against either. For like, let's say I haven't practiced against the champ, I like played scrims against the champ for like 4 months, but I have like this really niche counter pick that therefore I didn't play for like 4 months. Maybe I would pull it out, you know. But during the split, I would say there's probably like more champs I've played that I haven't played, like let's say within like 3-4 months than usual, yeah. But Worlds, I would say
just lie and say you do. Just like make that narrative even worse, so that they think you can just pick anything. They just think you're a madman.
I mean, that's like a lot of champs I picked that I haven't like had a single game in solo queue with, for example. So it's been like purely like maybe like 2-3 games in practice, and then I'm confident enough to pick it. There's like a lot of these cases, even like at Worlds, at MSI, at tournaments like this. But for sure more during the regular split and early season.
Yeah, well, I mean, God bless you, mate. Listen, if I was your ADC or something, I wouldn't necessarily be happy with that, but it's all right.
So we talked to Cold before, and he spoke really highly of you, right? He said that you're the type of guy that you didn't need a lot of games on champions to succeed. You'd play 5 games of a champion that just came out, and you'd already be at pretty much like a top level. Like you'd be at 90 to 95% proficiency, let's just say. Where do you really like? What do you hone that down to? Like, why are you just able to pick up new champions or play champions that other people haven't played, or play champions that you've only played a couple games on so well instantly compared to other people that need like 20, 30 games, like potentially even hundreds of games to be confident or comfortable?
I mean, I think I just think about that. I think a lot about like how the champion can be like applied to like different situations, maybe more than like other people. Like I kind of like I guess theorycraft in my head, like in what situation would this champion be good? How should I like play my lane, my matchup? Even if I've never played it before, I can like kind of figure it out, you know, just by knowing, well, the kit, like it takes me like, well, not even like, maybe not even like a game to figure out how the kit of my champion works. At least like how people like understand it when it gets released. So I can just kind of figure out, like just by playing like a game or two, how like my matchups should go in my head at least, and that usually like turns out to be the way it goes as well. So I think that's just like the main difference. Maybe it's also easier if you're a top laner. I'm not sure. You're more used to like picking up a lot of weird shit, and you can kind of like apply like a lot of matchups and like draw similarities from a lot of matchups than maybe like the jungle role can or bot lane, right? So maybe that's the edge I have. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's one area, by the way, Dom, where I think also G2 has an edge, and people don't even talk about it. Is, in my opinion, we need to have like a new set of terminology for how we rank players, right? Because there are players who are the best at their position. Like, if I'll give you an example, maybe it'll come up later in the conversation for some reason.
Okay.
Obviously, as just a pure AD carry on AD carry champions, Opposite is one of the best I've seen in Europe. Actually, he's a very, very good player, but he also is just an AD carry for my money. Like, I don't necessarily know that his map awareness is that great or how to play with certain teammates. And I think if you just put him on the rails of what an ADC does normally, he'll be the best. But one thing I think is insane about G2 that people underestimate is if you look at their 3 main laners. So Perks, sure, not his traditional role, but how he played last year on the AD carry, like doing flanks and fucking TPs and stuff. You look at Caps generally, where like he was saying earlier, Caps can do those ints because somehow he just has a mind for where in the game, well, I can still do this later in the game, I can get it back. I mean, I've even heard him use that whack logic of like, it was like a tactical int, so that then like, you know, next time I come back and kill him because he's used his flash. It's like, that never will make sense, but I get why you like mentally tell yourself that so you keep in the game. And then obviously Wunder, if people don't know, probably one of the best split push players in all of Europe, even though he couldn't play that this year because it just wasn't the meta. So here's the distinction. There's players who are very good at their role. These are players, though, who know how to win the game. And that is not like a small distinction. How to, like, not knowing, like, it's one thing if you can just play this matchup, or if you get the early advantage of this matchup, you win. A lot of players can do that. It's actually the one area for the final, as a little hint, I'm very interested because the guys who were the LPL experts told me the area they thought Sunning actually wouldn't be good in his late game. So they think if anything goes to late game team fights, actually Damwon smashes it. So like that's an example of a team where all these young players, rookies, they're good in their roles and they're popping off in their roles now with certain picks. But the point is, what would they do if they're super down in a game? What would they do if they're playing a matchup they've never played before? What would they do if they're in a situation where like someone's feeding in a lane? Like if some of the G2 players for me just understand, or at least in the past, maybe in season 9 it was easier, they can just always figure out a way to do something relevant in the game. Because what he was describing there about how you do the like first timing, that's essentially when I used to talk to Soaz back in the day, why he used to pick all the weird champions. Because his logic wasn't really like, I'm better than this guy on this matchup. Like, no, that might be his best matchup. It's that if I pick like a weird matchup that he's just not prepared for, yeah, when neither of us are going to be the best in this particular matchup because we don't know how it goes. We don't know the basic meta. But I know like a couple of points in the game where I've theory crafted, I might be able to get a weird edge, or I can do something like on the map, like the champion with the global teleports. You know, like there's a whole bunch of angles that you could go with. So like, what do you think of that? Because I never heard anyone give that distinction. People just, again, it's why you shouldn't hype rookies, really, because often, like, the rookie hasn't got all those intangibles I'm talking about.
Well, what I would say to that is it seems like that's what gives G2 their longevity. I mean, G2 is good year after year after year because they're not hammering out, like, they're not playing a million games of Ashe versus Jhin and just being the best Ashe and Jhin player that they have bot lane. They actually are just, like, learning the game. They're playing the game, not the champion. So when you look at other teams like Suning, we'll have to see. Will Suning actually be really strong next year? I mean, assuming that they keep most of the roster, are these other teams going to be able to acclimate to whatever meta that it shifts to? And the teams that are normally able to have like the better brain about how the game should be played and have these ideas about like, you know, when you listen to Wunder talk about top lane, he's not talking about, oh, well, my champion just beats him in this trade now. He's talking about like, oh, well, I can bounce this wave, like I can stack this wave and dive. Like those are the concepts that I feel like to me make somebody a great top laner. And like or like for example, for AD carries, like knowing like wave manipulation, like when you can push in for poke, when you can push in, take a Drake, like things like that. I mean, there's a bunch of different angles that you have, but when you're talking about season to season, I think that's what gives a player value long term. Yes. And I feel like that is the biggest issue with scouting and how it's done within North America specifically, is people don't find the people that are actually good at the game. They find people that performed well in the previous year, and they don't really put context around what allowed those people to really perform. So at least that's my perspective on those things.